Chapter 4. To rig masts and yards. Rigging the shears. Taking in lower masts and bowsprit. To rig a bowsprit. Getting the tops over the mastheads. To send up a topmast. To get on a topmast cap. To rig a jib boom. To cross a lower yard. To cross a topgallant yard. To send up a topgallant mast. Long, short, and stump topgallant masts. To rig out a flying jib boom. To cross topgallant and royal yards. Skysail yards. Taking in lower masts and bowsprit. Shore up the beams upon which the heels of the shears will rest, if necessary, from the keelson. Parbuckle the shears aboard, with their heads aft. Raise their heads upon the taffrail, cross them, and pass the sheer lashing. Lash the upper block of a threefold tackle under the cross, and secure the lower block to the breast hooks, or to a toggle in the hawse hole. You may also reeve and secure, in the same manner, a smaller purchase, which shall work clear of the first. Have 2 forward and 2 after guys close hitched to the sheer head, with cleats to prevent their slipping. Get a girt line on one sheer head and a small tackle on the other, to slew and cant the mast. Let the fall of the main tackle come through the middle sheave, to prevent the block slewing in its strap. Reeve large heel tackles to rouse the shears aft with. Put long oak plank shoes under the heels. And, if it be necessary, clap a thwartship tackle upon the 2 heels, or reeve a lashing, and put a stout plank between them, and bows taut, which will prevent too great a strain coming upon the waterways. Take the main tackle fall to the capstan. Heave round, haul on the forward guy and after heel tackles, and raise the sheer to an angle of about 80 degrees with the deck, and so that the main purchase will hang plumb with the partners of the mizzenmast. Lash a garland to the forward part of the mast, above the center, and toggle the purchase to it. Heave the mast in over the bulwarks. Fit the trestle trees and after chalk. Reeve girt lines by which men may be hoisted when the mast is in. Point the mast in and lower away. Always take in the mizzenmast first. Get in the main and then the foremast in the same manner, rousing the shears forward, with their shoes, by means of the heel tackles. Having stepped and secured the foremast, carry the forward guys aft and rake the shears over the bows. Toggle the lower block of the main tackle to a garland lashed to the upper part of the bowsprit inside of the center. Put on the cap, and carry tackles or guys from the bowsprit head to each cat head, and clap on a heel tackle or guy. Heave the bowsprit, and direct it by the small tackles and guys. To rig a bowsprit. Lash collars for the forestay, bobstays, and bowsprit shrouds. Then for the springstay, and put on the bees for the topmast stays. Fit the man ropes, pass the gammoning, and set up bobstays and shrouds. To get the tops over the mastheads. Place the top on deck abaft the mast. Get a girt line on each side of the masthead, and pass the end of each under the top, through the holes in the after part. Clinch them to their own and stop them to the fore part of the top with slip stops. Have a guy to the fore and another to the after part of the top. Make the ends of a span fast to the after corners of the top, and bend a girt line from the masthead to the bight of the span, and stop it to the forward part of the top. Sway away on the girt lines. When the fore part of the top is above the trestle trees, cut the span stops, and when the after part is above them, cast off the slip stops. When the lubber hole is high enough to clear the masthead, haul on the forward guy, and let the top hang horizontally by the girt lines. Lower away, place, and bolt it. The fore and main tops are set up from abaft, and the mizzen from forward. The tops may be got over without the span and girt line, by stopping the 2 girt lines first rove to the middle as well as to the fore part of the top, and cutting the upper stops first. To send up a topmast. Get the topmast alongside, with its head forward. Lash a top block to the head of the lower mast. Reeve a mast rope through it, from aft forward, and bring the end down and reeve it through the sheave hole of the topmast, hitching it to its own part a little below the topmast head, and stopping both parts to the mast at intervals. Snatch the rope and sway away. As soon as the head is through the lower cap, cast off the end of the mast rope, letting the mast hang by the stops, and hitch it to the staple in the other end of the cap. Cast off the stops and sway away. Point the head of the mast between the trestle trees and through the hole in the lower cap, the round hole of which must be put over the square hole of the trestle trees. Lash the cap to the mast, hoist away, and when high enough, lower a little and secure the cap to the lower masthead. This is when it cannot be put on by hand. If the cross trees are heavy, they may be placed in the following manner. Sway away until the topmast head is a few feet above the lower cap. Send up the cross trees by girt lines, and let the after part rest on the lower cap and the forward part against the topmast. Lower away the topmast until the cross trees fall into their place, and then hoist until they rest on the shoulders. Lash on the bolsters, get girt lines on the cross trees to send up the rigging, and then put it over the masthead, first the shrouds, then the backstays, and lastly the headstays. Sway the topmast on end, fit it, and set up the rigging. To get on a topmast cap. In vessels of the largest class, it may be necessary to send up the cap in the following manner, but it can usually be got up by hand, or it may be fitted and the rigging put on over it. Send the cap up to the cross trees by girt lines, and place the round hole of the cap over the forward hole of the cross trees. Send aloft a topgallant studding sail boom, and point its upper end through the holes in the cross trees and cap, and lash the cap to it. Hook a tackle or girt line to a strap on the lower end of the spar, and sway away until the cap is over the masthead. Slew the spar so that the cap may come fair. Lower away, and place the cap upon the masthead. Unlash the spar and send it down. To rig out a jib boom. Point the outer end through the collars of the stays. Reeve the heel rope through a block at the bowsprit cap, through the sheave hole at the heel of the boom, and secure the end to an eye bolt in the cap on the opposite side. Rig the boom out until the inner sheave hole is clear of the cap. Tar the boom end, put on the foot ropes and guys, and reeve the jib stay. Hoist up the martingale and rig it, and reeve the martingale stay and gob line. Rig the boom out to its place, and set up the jib and martingale stays. To cross a lower yard. If the yard is alongside, reeve the yard rope through the jeer block at the masthead, make it fast to the slings of the yard, and stop it out to the yard arm. Sway away and cast off the stops as the yard comes over the side, and get the yard across the bulwarks. Lower yards are rigged now with iron trusses and quarter blocks, which would be fitted before rigging the yard. Seize on the clew garnet block, and put the rigging over the yard arm. First the straps for the head earrings, then the foot ropes, then the brace blocks or pennants, and last the eye of the lift. The lifts, brace pennants, and foot ropes are now spliced or hooked into rings with thimbles on an iron band round the yard arm next the shoulders. In this way, there is no rope of any kind round the yard arm. Reeve the lifts and braces. Get 2 large tackles from the masthead to the quarters of the yard, and sway away on them and on the lifts, bearing off and slewing the yard by means of guys. Secure the yard by the iron trusses, and haul taut lifts and braces. To cross a topsail yard. As topsail yards now have chain ties, there are no tie blocks to seize on. The quarter blocks are first seized on, and the parrel secured at one end, ready to be passed. A single parrel has an eye in each end, and one end is passed under the yard and over, and the eye seized to the standing part, close to the yard. After the yard is crossed, the other end is passed round the mast, then round the yard, and seized in the same manner. To pass a double parrel, proceed in the same manner, except that the seizings are passed so as to leave the eyes clear and above the standing part, and then take a short rope with an eye in each end, pass it round the mast, and seize the eyes to the eyes of the first long rope. The parrel is wormed, served, and leathered. The parrel being seized at one end, put on the head earing straps, the foot ropes, Flemish horses, and brace blocks. Bend the yard rope to the slings, stop it out to the yard arm, and sway away until the yard is up and down. Then put on the upper lift in the top and the lower lift on deck, and reeve the braces. Sway away, cast off the stops, and take in upon the lower lift as the yard rises, till the yard is square. Then haul taut lifts and braces, and pass the parrel. To send up a topgallant mast. Most merchantmen carry long topgallant masts. In these, the topgallant, royal, and skysail masts are all one stick. A short topgallant mast is one which has cross trees, and above which a fitted royal mast may be rigged. A stump topgallant mast has no cross trees or means for setting a mast above it, and is carried only in bad weather. Some short topgallant masts are rigged with a wive on the after part of the masthead, through which a sliding gunter royal mast is run up, with its heel resting in a step on the topmast cap. To send up a long topgallant mast, put the jack over the topmast cap, with a grommet upon its funnel for the eyes of the rigging to rest upon. Send up the rigging by girt lines, and put the eyes over the jack, first the topgallant shrouds, backstays, and stays, then the royal rigging in the same order, with a grommet. Then the skysail stay and backstay, and lastly the truck. Reeve a top rope forward through a block at the topmast head, through the hole in the cross trees, through the sheave hole at the foot of the topgallant mast, carry it up the other side, and make it fast to its own part at the masthead. Stop it along the mast, and bend a guy to the heel. Sway away and point through the jack. Put on the truck and the skysail, royal, and topgallant rigging in their order. Slew the mast so as to bring the sheaves of the ties fore and aft. Cast off the end of the top rope, the mast hanging by the stops. Make it fast to an eye bolt on the starboard side of the cap, and sway away. When high enough, fid the mast and set up the rigging. A short topgallant mast is sent up like a topmast, the cross trees got over in the same manner, and the fitted royal mast is sent up like a long topgallant mast. To rig out a flying jib boom. Ship the withe on the jib boom end, reeve a heel rope through a block at the jib boom end, and bend it to the heel of the flying jib boom, and stop it along out to the end. Haul out on the heel rope, point through the withe, put on the rigging and in the same order with that of the jib boom. Reeve the guys, martingale, flying jib, royal, and skysail stays. Rig out and set up the rigging. The heel of the boom rests against the bowsprit cap and is lashed to the jib boom. The flying jib boom should be rigged fully out before the fore topgallant mast is swayed on end. To cross a topgallant yard. Seize on the parrel and quarter blocks. Reeve the yard rope through the sheave hole of the topgallant mast, make it fast to the slings of the yard, and stop it out to the upper end. Sway away, and when the upper yard arm has reached the topmast head, put on the upper lift and brace. Sway away again, put on the lower lift and brace. Cast off all the stops, settle the yard down square by lifts and braces, and pass the parrel lashing. To cross royal yards. The royal yards are crossed in the same manner as the topgallant yards, except that in most merchantmen they would be sent up by the halyards instead of a yard rope. If there is not a standing skysail, the quarter blocks on the royal yard will be single. Skysail yards. If the skysail is a standing sail, the yard is rigged like the royal yard, with lifts and braces, and the sail is fitted with sheets and clewlines. But if it is a flying skysail, the yard has neither lifts nor braces, and the clews of the sail are seized out to the royal yard arms. There are various ways of rigging a flying skysail, of which the following is believed to be as convenient as any. Let the royal stay go round the masthead, with a traveller, above the yard, so that the stay may travel up and down the skysail mast. Seize a thimble into the stay, close against the forward part of the grommet. Lead the skysail halyards through the thimble, and make them fast to the center of the yard, which will need no parrels underneath the royal stay. Make fast the ends of 2 small ropes for downhauls to the skysail yard, about halfway out on each yardarm, and reeve them through small cleats on the after part of the royal yard, the same distance out on each yardarm. These may be spliced into a single rope below the yard, which will go through a fair leader in the cross trees to the deck. By this means, the skysail may be taken in or set without the necessity of sending a man aloft. Let go the halyards and haul on the downhaul, and the yard will be brought close down to the royal yard. To hoist it, let go the downhaul and royal stay, and haul on the halyards. To hoist it, let go the downhaul and royal stay, and haul on the halyards. When the royal is taken in, haul the skysail yard down with the royal yard, and furl the sail in with the royal.